Hello and good day to you all. Today we're going to discuss all about the literature of Indonesia. So without further ado, let's begin. Oh, before we head on to our content, let us first know the flow of our presentation. First, we have Indonesia's overview. We're also going to discuss the traditions of Indonesia, the nature and characteristics of literature, origin of literature, literary history, literary genres, and representative authors and their works. So, Indonesia, or the Republic of Indonesia, is a diverse archipelago in Southeast Asia. It is known for its rich culture and natural beauty, with over 17,000 islands. It is the world's largest island country, and Jakarta is the capital. Bahasa Indonesia is the official language, and this country has a mix of ethnicities, religions, and languages. Indonesia is also the world's largest island country and the 14th largest country by area, as well as the world's fourth most populous country and the most popular Muslim majority country. So in this slide, you can see that a table showing the people's percentage of religion in Indonesia. So on the left side of your screen, you can see all the religions: to Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and others. And on the right side of your screen, you can see the percentage of people's religion. So in Christianity, they only have 10.5%, Islam 87%, Hinduism 1.7%, Buddhism 0.7, and other religions 0.1. So what did you notice on the table? So obviously that the religion Islam has the highest percentage of them all, which is 87%, a huge margin among the other religions. So what is the reason behind all of this? So why does Islam has the highest percentage among all of them? Let's answer your question. So Indonesia is not officially an Islamic country, but it has the largest Muslim population in the world, and the majority of Indonesians practice Islam, with approximately 87%, as we have mentioned earlier, and of the population country identifying as Muslims. However, Indonesia is officially a secular country with a diverse range of religions and beliefs, and the prevalence of Islam in Indonesia can be attributed to historical and cultural factors. Islam was introduced to the Indonesian archipelago in the 13th century through trade and the spread of Islamic kingdoms. Over time, Islam became deeply rooted in Indonesian society and played a significant role in shaping the country's culture, traditions, and values. So, what does the second paragraph mean? So, the Muslim traders from Arabian Peninsula, especially the Gujarat, India, traveled to the Indonesian archipelago for trade purposes. Through their interactions and cultural exchanges with the local population, they introduced Islam and its teachings, making the archipelago more of an Islamic country. So, additionally, in the third paragraph, let's move on. Indonesia's history of colonization by European powers, particularly the Dutch, led to a resurgence. When we say resurgence, it means revival of Islamic identity and resistance against foreign influence. Islamic leaders played a crucial role in the Indonesian independence movement, further strengthening the connection between Islam and national identity. So what does this mean? The Indonesian independence movement was a time when the people of Indonesia fought for their country to be free from the Dutch colonial rule. They wanted to govern themselves and make their own decisions as a nation. The movement involved protests, demonstrations, and armed resistance against the Dutch. Let us move to the traditions of Indonesia. So, Indonesia is a diverse country with a rich cultural heritage, and it is home to numerous traditions that are celebrated throughout the archipelago. Here are some of the notable traditions of Indonesia. First is the batik. Batik is a traditional Indonesian textile art form that involves applying wax and dye to create intricate patterns on a fabric. It is recognized as a UNESCO or intangible cultural heritage of humanity, and it is widely used in clothing, accessories, and home decor. The process of creating batik involves applying melted wax to the fabric using a special tool called canting, or a pen-like instrument with a small spout. The wax acts as a resist, preventing the dye from penetrating the areas covered with wax. And after the wax is applied, the fabric is dyed. The wax is then removed, revealing the design. The process can be repeated multiple times to create intricate and multicolored designs. Second is we have the wayang kulit. Wayang kulit is a traditional shadow puppetry performance that it combines storytelling, music, and intricate puppet craftsmanship. It holds a great cultural significance in the Indonesian society. It is considered a form of traditional theater, a medium of storytelling, and a means of preserving cultural heritage. Wayang kulit performances are often associated with important events and ceremonies such as weddings, harvest, festivals, and religious rituals. Wayang kulit performances often depicts episodes from ancient Hindu epics such as the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. The stories explore themes of good versus evil, morality, and the triumph of righteousness. The narratives are not only entertaining but also serve as a means of imparting cultural moral and spiritual teachings. Next, we have Pahombo or stone jumping. The central element of Pahombo is stone jumping, also known as lompat batu in Indonesian. The young men jump over a stone structure that is approximately 2.1 meters high. The stone structure is covered with nails and bamboo spikes, adding to the difficulty and risk of the jump. It is considered a rite of passage for Naya's boys into maturity. It is a symbol of their readiness to protect the village during tribal wartime, and the tradition is seen as a way to prove their strength, courage, and readiness to face challenges. It is deeply rooted in Naya's culture and is considered an important tradition. It is not only a physical test, but it's also a way to pass down cultural values, traditions, and knowledge from one generation to generation. The next tradition is also recognized as a unique tourist attraction that draws visitors from around the world. Next, we have gamelan. Gamelan is the traditional ensemble music of the Javanese, Sundanese, and Balinese peoples of Indonesia. It is predominantly made up of percussive instruments that the gamelan orchestra consists, like varieties of gongs, various sets of tuned metal instruments that are struck with mallets, and the gongs can be suspended vertically or placed flat depending on the type of gamelan. The gamelan is performed by a group of musicians playing a variety of instruments, including metallophones, gongs, drums, and bamboo flutes. Each instrument has its own unique sound and role within the ensemble, and the musicians play together in a highly synchronized manner. Gamelan is considered the epitome of the Indonesian traditional music, and it is closely associated with the Indonesian identity. It is often used in religious ceremonies, traditional dances, puppet shows, and other cultural performances. Lastly, we have Kerik Gigi or Kerik Gigi. It is a traditional practice in Indonesia, specifically among the Mentawai people who reside in the Mentawai Islands of the West Sumatra. It involves the sharpening or filing of teeth, primarily performed by women. This practice is considered a cultural tradition and is believed to symbolize a woman's coming of age and beauty. The Mentawai people believe that by sharpening their teeth, women can achieve happiness, peace, and enhance their attractiveness. Kirik Gigi is seen as a way to align the soul and body, bringing harmony and fulfillment. Now let's move on to the nature and characteristics of literature. The nature and characteristics of literature in Indonesia are diverse and has a wide range of content. Indonesian literature encompasses a wide range of genres, including poetry, novels, and short stories, written in various languages such as the Javanese, Malay, Sundanese, and many more. The literature in Indonesia has a long history, with some works being orally transmitted and later preserved in written form. One notable aspect of Indonesian literature is its oral tradition, where stories and poems are passed down through generations by word of mouth. These oral traditions reflect the cultural heritage and values of the Indonesian people. And additionally, Indonesian literature also includes modern works that have emerged in recent times. Indonesian literature is often characterized by its connection to the Malay language. It is used to refer to in literature produced in the Indonesian archipelago and areas with common language roots based on the Malay. The literature reflects the cultural diversity and linguistic richness of Indonesia, with different regions and ethnic groups contributing to its vibrant literary landscape. Now, let's move on to the origins of literature. The origin of literature in Indonesia can be traced back to old times, in which Indonesia has a rich literary tradition that has been influenced by various cultures and historical events. During its early history, Indonesia was a center of trade among sailors, as we have mentioned before in the Indonesia's overview, among sailors and traders from China, India, Europe, and the Middle East. This cultural exchange played a significant role in shaping the literature of Indonesia. The country was then a colony of the Netherlands from around 1600s to 1942, followed by the Japanese occupation from 1942 to 1945. One of the earliest literary works in Indonesia is the Nagara Kritagama, a 14th century poem that praises King Hayam Wuruk and describes the life and social structure of the Mahapahit kingdom. This poem is a testament to the literary legacy of Indonesia and showcases the sophistication of Indonesian literature even during ancient times. In the early 20th century, modern Indonesian literature began to emerge. The period saw the rise of literary movements in the development of novels, short stories, and epic poetry. Indonesian literature continued to evolve and flourish, with a growing community of writers and literary movements across the country. Now let's talk about the Tagara Kitagama. The Nagara Kitagama is an old Javanese eulogy to Hayam Wuruk, a Javanese king of the Mahapait Empire. It was written on lontar, or a palm leaf manuscript, as a kakawin, a type of Javanese poetry, and it is written or composed by Impu Prapangka in 1365. The Nagara Kitagama contains detailed descriptions of the Mahapait Empire during its greatest extent. The Nagara Kitagama provides detailed descriptions of the Mahapait Empire during its time. It offers insights into the society, culture, governance, and geography of the empire. The poem portrays the grandeur and power of the Mahapait kingdom, highlighting its prosperous cities, magnificent palaces, temples, and the achievements of the King Hayam. It is considered an important historical and literary work, and it not only serves as a eulogy to the king, but also provides valuable information about the Mahapait kingdom and its significance in the Southeast Asian history. Next is the literary history. The literary history of Indonesia is rich and wide, encompassing various genres and languages. Indonesian literature includes works in Javanese, Malay, Sundanese, and other languages spoken by the Indonesian people. It consists of both orally transmitted and written works, ranging from traditional epic poetry to modern novels and short stories. During the early years of Indonesian literature, there was a focus on the literature of the revolution and new nationalism. Indonesia fought for its independence and gained freedom from armed struggle in 1945, This period marked the emergence of literature that reflected the spirit of the nation. However, Indonesian literature faced challenges during the Suharto regime in the late 1960s, following an anti-communist massacre in the 1965 to the 1966. The New Order regime came into power, leading to a decline in literary freedom and censorship. Many writers and intellectuals were targeted, and Indonesian literature plunged into obscurity during this period. So the Suharto regime refers to the authoritarian rule of General Suharto, who served as the second president of Indonesia from 1967 to 1998. So Suharto, guys, came to power after a period of political instability and an attempted coup in 1965. During his regime, Suharto implemented a series of policies and practices that significantly shaped Indonesia's political, economic, and social landscape. The anti-communist, however, is a massacre. It refers to the violent purge and mass killings that took place in Indonesia in the year 1965 to 1966. Following an alleged coup by a group of military officers in September 1965, the Indonesian government, led by General Suharto, launched a widespread crackdown on suspected communists. And during this period, there were mass arrests, interrogations, and killings of individuals. So yeah, that happened during the time. And in recent years, Indonesian literature has experienced a resurgence, with a new generation of writers and authors emerging. The genres and types of literature have expanded, including poetry, compilations, novels, and magazines. Romance-themed novels gained popularity in the 1980s, and the women authors have made significant contributions to Indonesian literature. Let's move on to the literary genres of Indonesia. Indonesia has a rich and diverse literary tradition that encompasses various genres, reflecting the country's cultural, historical, and linguistic diversity. Some of the prominent literary genres of Indonesia include prose fiction, poetry, drama, historical literature, folklore and mythology, nonfiction, children's literature, and contemporary literature. Let's begin with prose fiction. Prose fiction refers to written works of fiction that are presented in a straightforward, ordinary language, and it is essentially any fictional story that is not written in verse. So, meaning to say, this is a story that is not written with a rhythmic pattern, not poem based. So, novels and short stories are common forms. These allow authors to use narrative prose to convey characters, plot, and themes. Now, let's move on to the literary genres of Indonesia. Indonesia has a rich and diverse literary tradition that encompasses various genres, reflecting the country's cultural, historical, and linguistic diversity. Some of the prominent literary genres of Indonesia include prose fiction, poetry, drama, historical literature, folklore and mythology, nonfiction, children's literature, and contemporary literature. First is prose fiction. Prose fiction refers to written works of fiction that are presented in a straightforward and ordinary language way. Essentially, it is any fictional story that is not written in verse. So, when we say not written in verse, this means that it's not written on a rhythmic pattern, not poem based. And novels and short stories are common forms of prose fiction, allowing authors to use narrative prose to convey characters, plot, and themes. Example of prose fiction is This Earth of Mankind by Pramuedya Ananta Tower. It is published in 1980 and it is set in the Dutch East Indies during the colonial era and follows the life of Mink, a Javanese aristocrat or nobleman. The novel explores the themes of oppression, discrimination, in the struggle for personal and national identity. And Pramoedia, the author, uses Mink's journey to depict the complexities of Indonesian society, the challenges faced during a turbulent period in history. The Boro Quartet is considered a significant work in Indonesian literature. So, what is the Boro Quartet? The Boro Quartet, or the Boro tetralogy is a literary written by Indonesian author Pramoedia at Boro Island detention camp in Maluku. It is composed of the novels This Earth of Mankind, as we have mentioned, The Child of All Nations, Footsteps, and House of Glass. It is published between the 1980s and 1988, and the book series is loosely based on the life of Titro Adhi Suwerho, an Indonesian nationalist and a key figure during the struggle for independence against the Dutch colonial rule. The Boro Quartet The Boer Quartet books were banned by the regime of the long-serving Indonesian President Suharto and his successor Habibie, but the ban was also lifted in 2000 due to the book's impact on society and its importance was overlooked. Next is poetry. Poetry holds a significant place in Indonesian literature. With a long tradition dating back to centuries, Indonesian poetry reflects the country's cultural heritage, social issues, and diverse linguistic influences. Example of poetry is the Aku, or I. It is a renowned poem written by Chairil Anwar. It is one of Indonesia's most celebrated poets, and Chairil Anwar played a significant role in shaping the Indonesian literature during the 20th century. It explores the existential themes and reflects the poet's inner struggles and desires. The poem delves into the search for identity, purpose, and a sense of freedom. Aku is considered a landmark work in Indonesian literature, and Chairil Anwar's bold and innovative use of language and themes broke away from traditional forms, including the subsequent generations of poets. Next is drama. Drama has been an integral part of Indonesian literature. With a history that dates back to ancient times, traditional Indonesian theater forms such as wayang kulit or shadow puppetry and wayang orang, Javanese dance drama, have influenced modern Indonesian drama. Another example for that is the Ruru Mendut, published in 1983. It is a novel written by Mangun Wihaya, an Indonesian author, architect, and Catholic priest. The novel, published in 1983, is a significant work in Indonesian literature, and Ruru Mendut is often presented in various forms, including traditional performances, dramas, and novels. It doesn't fit neatly into a single category, as its storytelling can be adapted into different mediums. And Ruru Mendut is also praised for its exploration of Javanese culture and its spirituality. And Mangun Wihaya, the author, weaves traditional elements into the narrative, offering readers a glimpse into the complexities of Indonesian society. And the novel is known for its rich prose and ability to convey deep philosophical ideas. Next we have here is historical literature. It encompasses various genres including historical fiction, biographies, and historical accounts. These works often explore Indonesia's rich history, including its pre-colonial era, colonial period, and its struggle for independence. And an example for that is The Rape of Sukrini. The Rape of Sukrini, or Laki Laki Harimau, is a novel written by Adwar Ridwan. It is set in the 16th century Bali during the time when Islam was introduced to the island. The story revolves around Sukrini, a young woman from a traditional Balinese village, and her experiences as her community undergoes significant change due to the arrival of Islam. The novel explores themes of cultural transformation, religious conversion, and the impact of outside influences of traditional Balinese society. It delves into the struggles and conflicts faced by Sukrini and the people around her as they navigate the changing social dynamics and confront the challenges both about the new religion. And we have here is folklore and mythology. Mythology plays a crucial role in Indonesian literature, with a diverse oral traditions being passed down through generations. These narratives often feature mythical creatures, legends, and moral teachings that are deeply rooted in Indonesian culture. An example for folktale is Malin Kundang. It is a popular folktale in Indonesian literature that originated in the province of West Sumatra. It tells the story of an ungrateful son named Malin Kundang, and it revolves around the themes of disobedience and retribution. The folktale centers on a young man who leaves his mother to seek his fortune, but later faces the consequences of his actions. And in the end, Malin Kundang is turned into a stone as a result of his ingratitude. The story of Malin Kundang has been passed down through generations and has become a well-known and beloved tale in Indonesian folklore. It carries moral lessons about the importance of gratitude, filial piety, and the consequences of one's actions. Next is the Ramayana Kakawin. This is an example of mythology. This is the Javanese version of the Indian epic Ramayana, written in the form of a kakawin, which is a type of old Javanese poetry. It was composed in the 11th century by Impu Panulu, a Javanese poet and scholar. The the epic poem follows the story of Prince Rama and his journey to rescue his wife, Princess Sita, who had been abducted by the demon king Ravana. The epic explores themes of love, honor, duty, and the triumph of good over evil. It is a significant literary work that reflects the cultural and religious influences of both Hinduism and Javanese traditions. It consists of 277 cantos, and it is written in Old Javanese language, which requires interpretation for modern readers. It is considered one of the most important literary works in Javanese literature and that has had a profound impact on Javanese culture and performing arts, including wayang kulit and traditional dance dramas. And we have also the Mahabharata Jawa. It refers to the Javanese translation and interpretation of the Mahabharata, which is an ancient Indian epic. The Mahabharata was translated into Old Javanese during the reign of King Darwangsa and Medang in the 10th century. In the reign of King Darwangsa, the 10th century. This Javanese version is known as the Bharata Yuddha, and it depicts the Kurukshetra War, which is the central conflict of the Mahabharata. Then take note, guys, that this Mahabharata Jawa is the longest epic poem known, consisting of over 100,000 sloka or over 200,000 individual verse lines. It is considered the longest poem ever written and contains both verse and prose. Next, we have nonfiction. Indonesia covers a wide array of subjects such as politics, society, history, religion, and philosophy, essays, memoirs, and journalistic works, and they contribute to the nonfiction genre in Indonesian literature. Example for that is In the Time of Madness, Indonesia on the Edge of Chaos in 2000. This is a nonfiction book by Richard Lloyd Parry, an Indonesian and British journalist. The book provides a first-hand account of the political and social upheaval that occurred in Indonesia during the late 20th century, particularly focusing on the period around the fall of President Suharto in 1998. It covers the political unrest, protests, and struggles for power that led to the resignation of President Suharto, who had ruled Indonesia for over 3 decades. Parry was a correspondent for the Times in Indonesia during the tumultuous events he describes, providing readers with an insider's view of the chaos and uncertainty during the time. And we also have children's literature. Literature in Indonesia has flourished with the creation of stories that reflect local traditions, values, and cultural diversity. This genre includes picture books, folk tales retold for children, and educational materials. Laskar Pelangi is an example. A children's literature written by Andrea Herata, an Indonesian author. It tells the story of a group of tenacious and underprivileged school children in Belitung who face various challenges but are determined to pursue education, and the title refers to their vibrant, multicolored school uniforms. Laskar Pelangi had a profound impact on Indonesian literature and society. It not only inspired a successful film adaptation but also sparked discussions about the importance of education, particularly in underprivileged communities. This novel holds significant cultural and literary importance in Indonesia. It became a national bestseller, resonating with readers due to its heartfelt portrayal of struggles faced by the characters and the transformative power of education. Now, we have the contemporary literature. Contemporary Indian Indonesian literature encompasses a wide range of genres and in styles that reflect modern societal issues and cultural dynamics. Authors explore themes such as urbanization, globalization, identity, and contemporary challenges facing Indonesian society. And another example for that is Beauty is a Wound, published in 2002. This novel is written by Eka Kurniawan, an Indonesian author. The novel spans the 20th century, reflecting Indonesia's history from Dutch colonization to the Japanese occupation, anti-communist purges, and the struggle for independence. The story revolves around Dewi Ayu, a beautiful prostitute, and her descendants, offering a multi-generational saga that mirrors the nation's journey. Corniawan blends the personal and the political, addressing themes of love, violence, and the impact of historical events on individuals. Beauty is a Wand is considered a landmark work in Indonesian literature, earning Corniawan's recognition both nationally and internationally. The novel has been translated into several languages, contributing to a broader understanding of Indonesian culture and history. Corniawan's storytelling telling prowess, and his ability to navigate complex themes have positioned him as a significant voice in contemporary world literature. So, in conclusion, Indonesian literature not only reflects the cultural diversity of the country, but also serves as a platform for exploring social and political issues. Many Indonesian writers have used their works to address important topics such as colonialism, nationalism, gender inequality, and religious tensions. Through their stories, poems, and novels, Indonesian authors have provided a voice to marginalized communities and shed light on the complexities of Indonesian society. The literature of Indonesia is not just a means of entertainment, but also a powerful tool for education, fostering empathy and promoting social change. It continues to evolve and adapt to contemporary challenges, ensuring that the voices of Indonesian writers resonate with both local and global audiences. That's all. Thank you for listening. I hope you had a good day and learned something new. Thank you very much.